Hello. Let's do the worst movies of 2020 that I saw. Once again, as a precursor to this, if I saw a movie for the first time in 2020, it went on my list, no matter what year it came out. I realized that too many times you would put a movie on a list, but it was like, oh no, actually it was released at Cannes in the year before, so it really belongs in the year before's list. It got too much. I said, you know what? Let's just nip that in the bud. Let's simply put it where if I saw it for the first time, goes on my movie list. You can find the entire list of movies that I saw for the first time in the About section or the Comments section or the Description section. I don't know. Just click around. You'll find the list. I've already done the list of best movies I saw in 2020. You can find that up there, okay? Little button, okay? These are the worst movies that I saw in 2020. These are movies that I truly think no one should ever see. You should always stay away from. And I suffered, so you don't have to. I apologize that it took me this long to get this list together. I actually had it done the day I did the best movies, but then I binge watched Servant. I tried to get that up as quickly as possible. I will get back to Flight Attendant after this, but here are the movies, as I have a hiccup. Here are the movies, thumbs down for that. Here are the movies in 2020 that I saw that no person, now my camera's moving, should ever see. I want to preface it by saying, once again, if I saw it for the first time, goes on the list. So some of these movies came out in 2017, 2016, before that, whatever, okay? I saw it for the first time. Couple movies, though, that did not make the list, but were just straight up bad, where I wrote down. Bloodshot. Bloodshot was the first movie, the last movie that I saw before the country shut down with COVID. I actually went the day that it was announced that the theaters were shutting down in my area, and I didn't know when I was going to get to a movie theater, so I said, okay, let me go see Bloodshot. I thought the trailer looked good. Vin Diesel, based on a comic book, and it was horrendously bad. So bad. I couldn't care less about the characters. I thought the storyline was horrible. I thought Bloodshot would have been great had it come out of the pandemic. You know, if that was one of the first movies that they're trying to re-release, which they kind of did a little bit, but it was just really bad. I was really disappointed with it. It's not like I expected a lot from a Vin Diesel movie, but I did think this movie looked cool. And it just let me down. I thought it was stupid and just trash. The next movie that I'll talk about is a movie on Netflix I watched called Indian Horse. This movie was made by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, I believe, and it hooked me because the thumbnail for the movie on Netflix was a dude playing hockey. And I love hockey. I play hockey pretty poorly, 3 times a week, but I was all in. I'm a sucker for sports movies. And I was like, all right, let's go Indian Horse. And it ends up diving into how this Native American from Canada was put in a boys' school, and then he starts to play hockey, and he's really good, but something happened to him in his life. It just went down a dark path that I was not prepared for, and I finished it, but I was mad at myself for finishing it because of the fact that I got suckered into it based on the sports hook, and it ended up being just a really depressing, dark movie that you just don't need to see. You have to definitely, I think, be in the right mindset for it. You're not going to laugh once. And if you're looking for the hockey angle of it, you'll get that a little bit, but it's more of like 15% hockey and 85% just depressing nonsense. Next movie I will talk about is Circle. Circle was another Netflix movie that I came across, and it was one of these sci-fi movies, low budget, and I thought the premise sounded cool. And you come across these movies a lot on Netflix where you go, this is either going to be trash or it's going to be really, really good. And this movie was pure trash. The premise of it was all of these strangers kind of wake up. They're on a circle. They don't know how they got there. And everybody has to vote on one person dying every couple minutes or whatever. And if they don't agree, then someone dies anyway. They need to figure out until there's one person standing. And the acting was horrible. I wasn't surprised about that, but the storyline just didn't get me either, and it got to the point where you're just sitting there going, this is dumb. This is a kind of a cool premise that wasn't done correctly. It could have been great. It wasn't. It was just dumb, and by the time the movie wrapped up and they had the, quote, the big reveal, if you will, you don't even care. It wasn't even that good of a reveal, so I think they had a good idea with the movie Circle, but it just wasn't executed properly. The next movie that I'll talk about is Vivarium with Jesse Eisenberg. Here's another movie, cool premise. The premise of this movie is a couple goes to look at a house and a new development. I think Imogen Poots is his girlfriend in this one, and they end up getting left there by the dude who's driving them around and showing them the house. And when they go out, they can't get out of this new development. They have to just stay. And their car ends up breaking down, and days become months, months become years. Something happens in it, and you're kind of in this state of there better be a payoff. If there's an amazing payoff, it could save this movie, and there's never a payoff. It's just a bad movie. Once again, really good idea for a movie, but it's one of those where I found myself going on YouTube rabbit holes to see if anyone liked it, if anyone could describe to me, because sometimes you see these movies and you go, okay, maybe I'm not smart enough to understand the deep meaning of this. Maybe somebody can explain it, and maybe it'll click in my head, and I'll say, oh, okay, now I actually like this movie after initially hating it. Nope, not at all. Vivarium was just a really, really bad flick. Another poor execution. It's a shame, too, because I like both of these actors. I like Jesse Eisenberg. I like Imogen Poots. Imogen Poots was in one of my favorite movies a couple of years ago called Green Room. And, yeah, it's a bad, bad movie. Another one I'll talk about, Turkey Bowl. Turkey Bowl is on Hulu, and I've actually talked about this movie before on my podcast, Scene Invaders. I'm pretty sure Turkey Bowl was originally supposed to be a movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. I remember those two being in discussions about a movie based on these two families who had a Turkey Bowl battle every year, Bad Blood, and it was supposed to be this comedy. It was cool. And it ended up, I don't know if this movie has any connection, or maybe the writers heard that and wrote this movie, but it ends up being a movie about this guy in Chicago who's got this fancy well-to-do, hoity-toity girlfriend. He's got these, he's living the life, and he has to go back home to a small town where he was the high school quarterback. They rope him back in because they want to do a Turkey Bowl game that never got finished. And it's got actors that you recognize. Like, if you watch Blue Mountain State, it's got Thad Castle in it. Once again, he's being portrayed as a football jock douchebag, and he's kind of gotten typecast in that role, which is a shame because I liked him in Blue Mountain State. But this movie wasn't good, wasn't funny at all, and waste of my damn time. And once again, I am a guy that is a sucker for sports movies, and maybe that's why I watch this. It's not like I didn't want to like it, but it's just it's so contrived, it's so cheesy and corny. You know where they're going with it. And my biggest problem, honestly, and I'm not even gonna look up the guy's name, you recognize the actor, the lead in this movie, the guy who's playing the high school quarterback. I don't buy the fact that he's a high school quarterback. I don't buy him in that role. Yeah, not good. Turkey Bowl, when you see it on Hulu, I thought, okay, hour and a half, maybe it can just kind of waste my time a little bit. In terms of a good way, I check my brain at the door, it just wasted my time in the most negative way possible. And finally, the movie that I'll talk about, they're actually, The Mighty Max. The Mighty Max was on Amazon Prime. Local story for me, because I'm in Philadelphia, and it was based off Immaculata College. I think it's Immaculata College. And their national championship women's team. This had David Boreanaz, who is local. He's from Philly. And Carla Gugino, big crush on. And I wanted to like this movie, and what it felt like to me was the writers saw Miracle and tried to turn it into a female basketball version of Miracle. It's not like I'm opposed to watching female sports stories. I just thought this wasn't very good. And it's a shame because of the local angle that I have. I want to like everything Philadelphia, but it just didn't have me connected to any of the characters really at all. It's a shame. I should cut in and say, I go into every movie wanting to like them. It's not like I'm trying to be an upper crusty, douchey critic that you read about. And the fact that I saw 106 movies and there's probably, 10 on my list here says a lot. There's some movies that I didn't think were very good, but I didn't think were worth staying away from. You can make up your own mind. These, though, I say stay away. The last movie that I'll talk about that made the, quote, honorable mention list is The Midnight Sky, the George Clooney movie. I actually reviewed this for the channel. If you saw that, thank you for watching it. I did a 60-second review, and one of these 60-second reviews that are one of the taglines I always had for these is, I suffer so you don't have to. This is a prime example. It had no payoff, or the payoff that it did have wasn't worth it, to the fact where a simpleton like myself guessed the ending of it, and I was kind of excited that I guessed the ending correctly, because I never do that, but then I went, yeah, it's just not a very good movie. It had the feeling for me of The Martian with Matt Damon, but The Martian was great. And what I mean by that is, it's George Clooney in one of the North Pole by himself trying to get from point A to point B. And it kind of reminded me of that Matt Damon where he's trying to get from point A to point B on Mars, where it's like if things go wrong, you are screwed. But they didn't do a very good job of making that emotional connection to the characters. And it was another one of those movies where you go, okay, it could end up turning around and having a good payoff, but it became obvious kind of what they were doing, at least in my opinion, and it became obvious they were not going to have a good payoff, or at least what the end game was, and it wasn't very good. And it's a shame because this is the first movie that we've seen from George Clooney in 4 years since Money Monster in 2016, a movie that I actually went to go see in theaters, was excited to go see, and that movie I didn't think was very good. It was okay. It was decent. It was better than The Midnight Sky, but he directed this, and I think he's done a good job directing. I think he directed The Ides of March, which I really liked. But this movie, which was adapted from a book, I didn't think was very good at all. All right, and we will get into the top 5 worst movies I saw in 2020. Number 5, An American Pickle. Seth Rogen, what the hell are you doing? Like, I ask you that as a friend. Please, write in the comment section. What are you doing? Did you think this was a good idea? Did you think that any of this was funny? I chuckled maybe twice in this movie. But this was supposed to be the big movie to debut on HBO Max. This was supposed to be the big thing of like, whoa, HBO Max, they're getting exclusive movies that drop on HBO Max. American Pickle, Seth Rogen's new movie. Seth Rogen is known for really, really good comedies, and I think we've gotten away from comedies. I said this a little bit with my top 5 movies when I talked about The Binge, where nowadays, in today's day and age of America, everyone's getting offended by everything. So you don't usually have those great comedies that make you laugh out loud and chuckle because so many people are worried about getting offended. And there'll be protests, and there'll be boycotts, and it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. This movie gets released on HBO Max with a guy who's known for doing really good comedies, and it fell short. And unfortunately, because of movies like this, because of movies like Artemis Fowl, which I shockingly did not put on the list. There's another one, Artemis Fowl. I can't believe I didn't put that on. That was just an oversight by me. Another movie that dropped on Disney Plus same day, didn't get a theater release because of COVID, got dropped on Disney Plus. Horrible. That was one of the worst movies I saw this year. But those 2 movies right there are prime examples where you're leery now of movies that get dropped on streaming services day of, because now I'm sitting there going, well, this can't be good. If it was good, they would just hold out. They would wait until theaters reopen if they knew they were going to get a lot of money for it. But this is their attempt to just cut bait. You look at the movie companies going, okay, we're in partnership with AT&T, which owns HBO Max. We'll drop it on there. Boom, we're good to go. There have been outliers. Soul is a prime outlier. It got dropped on HBO. It got dropped on Disney Plus the day of instead of theaters. That was an amazing movie. It was my 3rd favorite movie of this year. But An American Pickle was just stupid, bad, not funny. I knew it was stupid going in. It's not like I was looking for, oh God, what's the director's name? Hit thumbs down for this because I can't remember his name. The guy who did, I might have to stop this now because I can't think of his name. And I can picture him, which is the worst part. He did Grand Budapest Hotel. He did Rushmore. Somebody in the comment section will, and it'll probably pop into my head too, and I'm going to kick myself as soon as I end this video because I'll remember his name. But we're doing this all in one take. But it's not like I'm looking for that kind of comedy, that Stanford, Harvard, Brown University comedy. No, I knew I was going into a stupid movie, and it was bad. It was just dumb. Number 4 movie on my list was The Night Clerk. It stars Ty Sheridan. He plays an autistic kid working at a hotel night service. He falls in love with a really gorgeous female guest who is played by Anna de Armas, who is gorgeous. She is the only good thing about this movie. That's it. And I say that as a guy who just finds her attractive. This movie was trash. I was actually looking forward to this movie when it came out. I thought Ty Sheridan was really bad in it. I didn't think the payoff was good at all. It dragged, it lagged, it just sucked. And I think this movie is on Hulu, and you can hard pass on this one. We will move right into The Assistant. The Assistant was a movie that you can find on Hulu, and it was getting rave reviews. I don't know how. It starred, I apologize once again, I forget her name, but it starred the girl from Ozark. The girl plays Ruth from Ozark, and it'll probably be a situation where the name pops into my head. And it's Ruth from Ozark playing an assistant, low-level assistant in a movie producer's company, his office. It's his office, and it's literally about her day. That's it. It's about her day. You never see the executive. There's nothing really that happens. She gets upset. She goes to HR. She comes back. She goes home. That's it. That's the whole movie. It's not good. It's not like she's bad in it. The movie itself is not good. This is another example where I fear that too many movie critics go, oh, well, it's well acted. It's got to be a great movie. I, on the other hand, and I might be different from you out there, and if I am, hit thumbs down, smash that thumbs down button. I look for this crazy thing called a plot. I need a storyline to go through this. I can get by with bad acting if it's an amazing plot. Case in point, Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is horribly acted, okay? Ralph Macchio can't act it his way out of a paper bag. The kid who plays Miguel, horrible actor. Most of the kids are, in fact, bad actors. The plot, though, is great, and it's kind of saved by Billy Zabka. But the plot of that show is phenomenal that I don't even care that it's bad acting. This is the exact opposite. Great acting, horrible script, horrible plot, nothing happens. It's straight up boring. The Assistant, skip that. Second movie, another critical darling, The Lighthouse. This was another kind of critical porn, if you will, for those cinephiles that go to, USC film school and want to go to a dingy, poorly lit movie theater that sells scones from their snack bar. Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe, alone, in a lighthouse, black and white, horrible. Nothing really happens. They kind of go crazy. It's just bad. I just didn't think that this movie was, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it was one of those where I scratched my head at people that said this movie was good because I don't understand how. Another example, acting, tremendous. Plotline, horrible. The buddy who I had who watched it and didn't warn me on this, I cursed them out right away. It was one of the first movies I watched in 2020 where I could not wait for it to be over, and it wasn't that long of a movie. Every 5 minutes I was checking, when is this movie over? When is this movie over? But it was one of those critical darlings that was made for cinephiles that love black and white, that love artistic shots, that love, the sound edit. Look, that's all great. I need to be entertained, folks. This movie did not do that. And the last movie, the number one movie on my list, by far, Midsommar. I watched Hereditary, and I don't remember if I included Hereditary on my worst movies of last year. If I did, it would have been an honorable mention. I gave this guy, Ari Aster, another shot. Ari Aster is the writer-director of Hereditary and now Midsommar. Both movies were critical darlings. Both movies got rave reviews because he was, quote, reinventing the horror genre. Both movies, I thought, absolutely sucked so bad. I think Ari Aster has stolen a lot of great ideas from previous horror movies. Don't think I'm breaking any news on that. This movie is basically The Wicker Man. But with that said, I can get by that. If you want to steal ideas, look, tons of comedy, steal the plot lines, steal jokes, whatever. If it's enjoyable, great. I don't find his movies at all enjoyable. I think he goes with the quick gross out scene. For example, like quick gross out, old people fall on rocks from high and like their face gets smashed in. We'll show you their face for 2 seconds. Gross out. But he also includes things that are gross in the sense of why do you have to include that? In Midsommar, one of the characters drinks something and it's like a punch or something. But something is in the drink that I do not want to give away because it's so disgusting that I'm sure if you ask Ari, he's going to go on this long tangent about why it needs to be. It doesn't need to be in there at all. It's just fucking gross. The movie has perfected this gross out, all of them. He did that with Hereditary too. We're going to be as disgusting as possible. Not like so much Saw, but we're going to do it for a thinking man disgust. We're going to up the game of the disgust level of horror movies. We're going to make it gross and we're going to put it in your face. Look, I saw the Saw movies. I'm not opposed to being grossed out. When I saw Hereditary, I was told that it was the most nasty movie in the world. It's horrifying. It's all that. But I just wasn't entertained by it, and I didn't think it was very good. And then I went, okay, Midsommar, another movie that's getting rave reviews, and it was basically the same thing for me. I didn't think this movie was good at all. I thought this movie fucking sucked, to be honest with you. Obviously, it's the number one movie out of 106. But when I looked at this movie, even the characters' decisions just pissed me off. And I think that's one of my biggest beefs with this movie, is they just kept making those stupid decisions where you go, I feel like anybody in this position would go, I'm out. I'm out. And they don't. They continue to double down, including the main character who made dumb decisions, and then the decision at the end of the movie that she makes is arguably the dumbest of them all. And I'm not talking the decision that she makes with her boyfriend. I'm talking the decision that she makes for herself. I went, yeah, come on, really? Like, all the stuff you've seen, and you're doing that. Horrible. I will never watch an Ari Aster movie again. I do not, and I will not understand why people are in love with his shitty movies. And this is one of those where I'm sure people that love his movies are going to smash that thumbs down. That's great. More power to you. You will never convince me that Midsommar or Hereditary are these next-level horror movies. Jordan Peele's movies are next-level horror movies. Those are thinking, like, he didn't steal anything from Get Out, or he didn't steal anything when he wrote Us. Ari Aster is stealing from a lot of people. Fine, whatever. Once again, you're not the first person to do it. But when you start getting praise for being this new horror boy wonder, and then you show up with Midsommar, and it's just grossness after grossness after that, once again, doesn't need to be in there, that's where I draw the line. So, once again, these are the 5 movies, in my opinion, you need to hard pass, stay away from. An American Pickle, number 5. The Night Clerk is number 4. The Assistant is number 3. The Lighthouse is number 2. And then Midsommar is number 1. Thank you guys so much for watching, and at least watching this video. If you thought this video was one of the worst things that you've seen in 2021, I implore you, hit that thumbs down. If you agree with some of the things that I said, or you just don't think I suck, there is a thumbs button for that too. If you consider subscribing to the channel, that would be cool, okay? But these are the movies that I say stay away from. And then check out the movies that I actually liked in 2020. That's also available as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.